Hello, welcome back to the Cricket Nerds. Today, all the nerds back, finally, after what seemed a long time, to talk to you about cricket. The World Cup's coming up. We're super excited. Can't wait. And we've just had another cracker of a game in the Asia Cup, the warm-up to the World Cup, between India and Sri Lanka, in which it kind of ebbed and flowed a bit. Sri Lanka seemed on top, then India seemed on top, then Sri Lanka were back on top, and then India eventually, as we predicted, won this game. James, talk to me about Dunith Wellalagi.
First of all, congratulations on the pronunciation there. We did have to Google it a few times.
It still could be wrong.
Wellalagi. Yeah, if we're wrong, please let us know. But yeah, no, he could be a really valuable asset for India. For Sri Lanka.
Yeah, when India get him.
Yeah, he's a really valuable asset in the IPL where he probably gets a contract this year. Yeah, because he's really young. I think he's only 20, and he is showing signs of being a bit of an all-rounder. He's done it before, and I think he played an under 19s game. In the world
90s.
under 90s game. He's actually 83. No, he played in the under 19 World Cup, I think, a little while ago, and he did a really good all-round performance against Australia. I think he took a 5 and got 50 or something like that to win the match. So he's somebody that has shown this kind of potential, and I think with age he's only going to get better. But yeah, he's a really exciting prospect for Sri Lanka. And it's good that they are making more of these exciting prospects because they've got a good young team starting to come through a lot more. And like I said yesterday, in the podcast that we put out, and if you haven't seen that, please do check it out. But like I said in that, Sri Lanka are a team that they can cause big upsets. Like they have the ability to turn up and play out of their minds. At the same time, they have the ability to completely crumble. I said they wouldn't do middling performances, but I'd say actually this one was probably just a middling performance for them.
Yeah.
But Ben, what did you think of India? What do you think of India as a side as they're shaping up after the Pakistan game and the Sri Lanka one?
With the World Cup being in India, it has all the prospects of India just walking this World Cup. Like, they just look like such a cricketing superpower at the moment, especially in the white ball format. The only thing is, and I know all Indian fans will say, is that when it comes to home World Cups, India have a habit of bottling it and not quite following it through. But like, it's really hard at the minute to pick any weakness in the Indian side. I think if you look at their batting outfit, their bowling outfit, as a fielding team, they're fantastic. They've got pace, they've got spin. They just have at the minute this bunch of players that I think just have the whole package. I think if we're looking at the 3 best teams in the world right now when it comes to 50 over cricket, we've got the Australian team who are going through a bit of a process. They're losing some old guard, getting some new guard through, trying some new players that get out against South Africa, as we've seen. You've got India, who just look like everything's coming to fruition at the same time. And we were concerned about India with the absence of Rishabh Pant, that they would miss that spot, but they seem to have found a apt replacement in Ishan Kishan or KL Rahul. And then you've got England, who are probably the only other side that look like they've got that much depth. New Zealand are in that conversation too, and they can put on a performance against England, but they've not got the same level of depth as I think the English and the Australians do. But I think India just topped that list completely, and I think they're going to be an absolute force to be reckoned with at this World Cup.
Definitely. I think when you mentioned New Zealand, I think New Zealand and India have the strengths of being settled sides. You look at that bowling lineup, you pretty much know who's going to be bowling for India. You know who's going to be bowling for New Zealand, and same with the batting as well. And Jasprit Bumrah bowling at the top of the order just removes any doubt really for that Indian bowling lineup about whose role is where, because Jasprit Bumrah is so key. You know what his role is. Everyone just fits into place. And how well Kuldeep Yadav's bowled over the last 2 games, they really value him. To say, we were talking about it in yesterday's podcast about him coming in for Ashwin and Chahal, who are so good, and yet his role is so clearly defined. And yeah, they're in a great space. We mentioned Australia. Australia have recently lost their first game against South Africa. South Africa are an interesting side. In the, I don't know, I can't really work them out, because when they look bad, when they have an off day, it's really bad. But when they look good, it's like, well, surely they're in contention for a World Cup. I'm not sure on your guys' thoughts on that.
I'm also really confused by South Africa. I think it's been a well-known thing that for years, if everybody that was born in South Africa wanted to play for South Africa would have a world-beating side every time.
Yeah.
They'd have prime Jason Roy, Marnus Labuschagne, they'd have Glenn Phillips. There are tons of players that would play for South Africa that have played for other countries instead. And you're absolutely right that when they look good, you think, oh, hello, these guys are real contenders. Quinton de Kock and Ada Markram today, Temba Bavuma in general, Heinrich Klaassen and David Miller both are outstanding players. The one thing that kind of makes me doubt South Africa in ODI cricket and T20 cricket is usually their batting depth in the lineups that they put out. They have some outstanding bowlers, but they don't tend to play that many bowling all-rounders, or they play just one extra bowler. And it means that they can be left a little bit light in the batting department. So when inevitably they lose wickets, they can sometimes be left short. Now, just so happened that in this latest game, the third ODI against Australia, they didn't, lose too many wickets. They managed to keep it together. But in general, I think having somebody like Sisanda Magala come in at 8, or Kagiso Rabada, or Maharaj, whoever it ends up being, they're just not good enough to bat at number 8. And when you look at some of the better sides like Australia and India and England, they've got batting at least number 8. Now, India are also an interesting one because they are, currently playing sort of 3 number 11s in Kuldeep, Bumrah and Siraj. But yeah, it's interesting to me. Yeah. What do you think of the Australian side?
Well, I reckon they have almost got a bit of a win with Travis Head opening the batting. That pinch hitter role is going to cause havoc and is causing havoc. It's the fact that Australia will get to 15 overs and be scoring almost 10 and over. That's dangerous because that's the way they're going to chase down the big scores. I know they didn't do it today, but we saw them in the match previous where they scored almost 400. That ability to score so quickly at the outset is brilliant on 2 fronts. For one, it gets them that good run rate, but it also takes the pressure off David Warner, who's just silently going about his business, making 50s. And then the middle order, they seem to be able to bat in any position and do well. Labuschagne, Mitchell Marsh, Alex Carey, Marcus Stoinis, Tim David to finish things off. It just looks really solid. And Benj, I know you're a bowler at heart. Their bowling is just next level, really, isn't it?
And especially if you add in Mitchell Starc and Pat Cummins over Sean Abbott and Nathan Ellis too. Like you'd imagine for the World Cup that those two will come in. I mean, I know all the Australian bowlers got injured in the Ashes, as did most players. But you'd think by the time it comes to the World Cup, we'll be seeing Pat Cummins, we'll be seeing Mitchell Starc back in that side as well. And that just strengthens both the batting and the bowling department more as well. If you have Cummins and Starc coming in at 8 and 9, suddenly that's a very long batting lineup. You're almost looking like England, where you've got like Sam Curran coming in at like number 9, who we know can hit a long ball. It's all going to change, isn't it? Because all of these conditions are going to be very different to the conditions that we find in India. Like they'll probably be more receptive to pitch. To pitch, the pitches will be more receptive to spin. And you know we'll see the variation at the different stadiums, like we see in the IPL. Yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it now. I've really not really cared about ODIs since 2019, and suddenly with the World Cup coming, I've got 50 over fever, which is surprising that none of us care about it, because 50 over fever is like it's like most similar to what we play in our leagues, and you know, like we never even care about it. But yeah, I feel like I'm getting a bit of 50 over fever now, and yeah, I'm excited for it.
It's this weird space where it's quite chaotic. Lots of teams are playing. They're trying to get their lineup sorted, think about what are the best matchups, that sort of thing. And I guess with so few teams in this World Cup, we're going to see teams playing against the same team like 3 or 4 times. And so, yeah, it's in this weird phase at the moment before the World Cup, but we're really excited about it. I'm sure you guys are too. So stick around for the journey. We're going to be bringing you a lot more content about this. So please subscribe. Please like the video if you've enjoyed. Follow us on social media. All the links are in the link tree down below. And we look forward to seeing you on our next podcast.